Hey there, listeners. Ever feel like you're stuck in a cycle in your relationships, unable to break free from certain patterns? What if I told you that your relationship problems were programmed into you before you could even speak? Intrigued? Well, today we're diving deep into the strange situation experiment and what happened to those babies when they grew up. I'm your host, Sarah Mitchell, and with me is our go-to expert, Dr. James Walker.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Yes, the strange situation experiment is a fascinating study in developmental psychology. Conducted by Mary Ainsworth in the 1970s, it really highlighted how our early attachments can set the stage for adult relationships.
Whoa, so how exactly did this experiment unfold? I imagine it wasn't just babies holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
Not quite, Sarah. In the experiment, infants and their primary caregivers, usually their mothers, were placed in a room. The mother would leave the infant alone for a short while, then return. Researchers observed how the infant reacted to both separation and reunion.
So how did these little ones react? Did they throw tantrums or just play it cool?
Great question. Ainsworth found distinct patterns. Some infants were secure and happy to see their mom return, while others were anxious or even avoided their mom altogether.
That's pretty intense. So these patterns as infants, they're basically blueprints for how we'll deal with adult relationships?
Exactly, Sarah. A study by Hazan and Shaver in 1987 showed that these attachment styles often carry into adulthood, influencing how we experience love and attachment in adult relationships.
Mind blown. So you're saying if I tend to avoid emotional closeness, I might have been doing that since before I could even say bottle?
In a manner of speaking, yes. Brennan, Clark, and Shaver's 1998 study from the University of Denver delves deeper into these adult attachment styles.
Wow, that's some deep stuff. What about the kiddos from the original study? Do we know what happened to them as they grew up?
Indeed, Sarah. A follow-up study by Main and Cassidy in 1988 examined these same children years later. They found that early attachment styles strongly correlated with how these individuals formed relationships as teenagers.
That's wild, James. So basically, we might be carrying these relationship scripts our whole lives if we don't become aware of them?
Precisely. Awareness is the first step toward change. The more we understand our early attachment styles, the better we can navigate our adult relationships.
All right, Dr. Walker, let's dive into these attachment styles. I've heard people throw these terms around, but I'm not entirely sure what they all mean. Can you start us off with the secure attachment style? Sounds like the one we should all be aiming for, right?
Absolutely, Sarah. A secure attachment style is indeed the ideal. People with secure attachment generally have positive views of themselves and others. They find it easy to get close to others and are comfortable depending on them, as well as having others depend on them. A study by Fraley and Shaver in 2000 from the University of Illinois found that secure individuals tend to have harmonious relationships.
Harmony in relationships sounds so zen, but what about those of us who might not have that naturally? What's the next style?
The next is the anxious preoccupied style. People with this attachment often worry about their partner's love and commitment. They tend to crave closeness, and ironically, that can push others away. A classic example is someone who bombards their partner with texts when they don't hear back immediately. Cindy Hazen and Philip Shaver's seminal 1987 study at the University of Denver highlighted these patterns.
So, clingy, but not in a cute rom-com way. Got it. What about the dismissive-avoidant type? Sounds like someone who might ghost you.
You hit the nail on the head there, Sarah. Dismissive avoidant individuals often maintain a distance from others, valuing their independence extremely highly. They may come off as self-sufficient, but struggle to build close emotional connections. A study by Bartholomew and Horowitz in 1991 at Simon Fraser University showed these individuals often suppress their feelings.
Suppressing feelings. Sounds like a recipe for drama. Which leads us to the last one, the fearful avoidant. What should we know about them?
The fearful avoidant attachment style is a bit of a paradox. People with this style desire closeness, but simultaneously fear it. It's like having one foot on the gas and one on the brake. They often have mixed feelings about close relationships. A study by Mary Main in the 1990s at UC Berkeley demonstrated that these individuals might have had inconsistent caregiving in their childhood.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. I can see why understanding these styles would be crucial in knowing oneself and others better. So, just to clarify, can someone change their attachment style over time?
Yes, they can. Attachment styles aren't set in stone. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2002 by Simpson and Rolls showed that significant life events, therapy, and healthy relationships can lead to changes in one's attachment style.
That's hopeful. So, a secure attachment style isn't just for the lucky few. People can work towards it. Do you have any practical tips for someone trying to shift their attachment style?
Certainly, one tip is to engage in self-reflection about past relationships and identify patterns. Therapy can also be highly beneficial. It provides a safe space to explore one's feelings and develop healthier relationship patterns. Also, fostering open and honest communication in current relationships is crucial.
That makes total sense. Thank you, Dr. Walker. You've given us all a lot to think about, and I'm sure our listeners are scribbling down notes like crazy. All right, Dr. Walker, let's dive into the juicy stuff with adult relationships. Why do we often find ourselves stuck in the same patterns, like the infamous anxious-avoidant trap?
Great question, Sarah. The anxious-avoidant trap is a fascinating dynamic. It's where one partner craves closeness while the other seeks distance. It's like a dance where both partners never quite meet. Research by Dr. Amir Levine in his 2010 book suggests it's rooted in our attachment styles formed early in life.
So the way our parents hugged us might dictate our adult relationship dramas? That's comforting or not. Why do we keep choosing the same type?
Exactly, Sarah. We unconsciously seek out partners that fit our attachment pattern because it feels familiar. A 2011 study by Dr. Cindy Hazan at Cornell University showed that even if we know a pattern isn't healthy, familiarity can override logic.
The good old comfort zone, right? So, how do protest behaviors fit into this picture?
Protest behaviors are those actions that an anxious partner might take to regain a sense of closeness. It could be anything from excessive texting to picking fights. Dr. Sue Johnson's work from 2008 highlights how these actions can stem from a deep-seated fear of abandonment.
So, it's less about being needy and more about a fear of being left behind. That makes it more relatable. But what about the avoidance side? What are deactivation strategies?
Deactivation strategies are the avoidant partner's way of maintaining emotional distance. This might include focusing on imperfections of the partner or avoiding getting too close emotionally. Interestingly, a study by Dr. Phil Shaver in 2012 found that these strategies can be a response to feeling overwhelmed by intimacy.
It's like two different movies playing on the same screen, and yet people find themselves drawn to each other. How do these attachment styles interact?
When an anxious partner's protests meet an avoidant partner's deactivation, it often creates a cycle. The anxious person pushes for closeness, triggering the avoidant's need to pull away. It's a cycle that perpetuates itself, as noted by Dr. Mario Michelincer in a 2010 study on attachment dynamics.
It's like a push and pull game with no referee. So, is there any hope for those caught in this cycle?
Absolutely, Sarah. Awareness is the first step. A 2015 study by Dr. Leslie Greenberg at York University emphasized the importance of recognizing your attachment style and its impact on your relationship. This can lead to healthier ways of interacting.
Phew, good to know there's a way out. What can someone do if they realize they're always picking the same type of partner?
It starts with self-awareness and reflection. Dr. Levine suggests in his research trying to identify the traits that draw you to a partner. Then, challenge yourself to date outside your usual patterns. It's about breaking the cycle and making conscious choices.
So, it's like choosing a new flavor at the ice cream shop rather than vanilla every time. Got it. But don't some people just get lucky and find their perfect match?
Definitely, compatibility plays a significant role. But even couples who seem perfect for each other must navigate attachment dynamics. It's about growing together and understanding each other's attachment needs.
All right, James, so we've been chatting about how love lights up the brain like a Christmas tree. But what about when it all goes south? Why do breakups physically hurt us so much?
Great question, Sarah. Well, Researchers from the University of Colorado found that the same areas of your brain that react to physical pain also light up during a breakup. So it quite literally feels like you're being hit by a bus in emotional terms.
Ouch, that seems brutally accurate. Is this where hormone talk comes in? Oxytocin and cortisol are names I've heard thrown around a lot.
Exactly. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is released during intimate moments and helps to cement bonds between partners. But when those bonds break, cortisol, our stress hormone, spikes as a kind of physiological response to loss.
So it's like your body's playing tug of war with itself. One side is trying to hold on while the other is screaming in panic.
Precisely. And this isn't just emotional. A study by Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan in 2011 used fMRI scans to show the brain's pain matrix activating. It's fascinating, though not so fun for the person going through it.
And here I thought my chocolate binge was purely an emotional reaction. Is there a way to ease this oxytocin-cortisol clash?
There is. Simple acts of self-care and social support can help. Engaging in activities that release endorphins, like exercise and maintaining social connections, are crucial. Studies suggest that even talking to friends, as researchers from UCLA found in 2013, can reduce cortisol levels.
So having those ice cream nights with friends isn't just cliché. They're actually scientifically valid therapy sessions?
Exactly, Sarah. When you're surrounded by friends, your brain is less likely to focus on the absence of oxytocin because you're receiving new sources of social bonding and support.
Fascinating how we're wired for connection even when it feels like the world is ending. How long does this pain typically last?
It varies widely. A study from Rutgers University showed that the first few weeks are the hardest, but most people see a significant emotional improvement after about 11 weeks.
11 weeks, huh? Good to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, although that tunnel feels endless in the moment.
Absolutely. And interestingly, your brain is also remarkably resilient. Neuroplasticity allows us to adapt and form new connections, which ultimately aids in recovery.
Neuroplasticity to the rescue. It's like our brains have their own little superhero capes. This has been an enlightening, albeit bittersweet conversation.
All right, Dr. Walker, let's dive into this attachment style quiz. I took a peek at it, and some of these questions feel like they're really prying. Why is that? Great question, Sarah. These questions are designed to get under the surface. Dr. Sue Johnson, in her 2008 work, highlights that being direct helps reveal core attachment patterns. So it's not just about what you say you want, but how you actually behave in relationships. Oh, that makes sense. So when a question asks about my comfort with intimacy, should I be focusing on my behavior or my feelings? Or both? Both, really. John Bowlby, the father of attachment theory, emphasized this in his 1980 book. Our behaviors and feelings often tell the same story, but sometimes they don't align, so it's crucial to look at both to get the most accurate picture. Got it. Let's say I tend to push people away when things get too close. That's a classic sign of a dismissive attachment style, right? Exactly, Sarah. And you're not alone. A study from the University of Toronto in 2015 found that around 30% of adults have a dismissive style. It usually stems from experiences where reliance on others wasn't a safe option. Interesting. So for those of us who can be a bit commitment shy, what's an example question that might reveal this dismissive style? One key question might be, how often do you feel like others are trying to be too emotionally close? If you're saying often or always, you might be leaning towards that style. I think a few listeners just had an aha moment, including me. Now what about the opposite? Those who maybe cling a bit too much. That would typically indicate an anxious attachment style. A question here would be, do you worry about being abandoned or unloved? If answered affirmatively, it can highlight an anxious tendency. Mary Main's research in 1985 showed how this stems from inconsistent caregiving experiences as a child. Fascinating. It's like our childhood set up these patterns, but we act them out as adults. What about those who don't seem to fit perfectly into one category? Great point. This is where the concept of a fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment comes in. They often have conflicting desires, wanting closeness but fearing it simultaneously. Questions probing past relationship patterns and fears of emotional intimacy can help uncover this style. So, Dr. Walker, if someone listening is discovering their attachment style through these questions, what's the next step? The next step is awareness. Recognizing patterns is crucial. Dr. Hazan and Shaver's work in 1987 really emphasized this. Once you see the pattern, you can start working on them, ideally with a therapist specializing in attachment theory. This is eye-opening. It seems like our relationships are a mirror reflecting our inner world. Thank you, Dr. Walker, for guiding us through these questions. Let's take a moment to absorb this, and we'll be right back with more insights. So Dr. Walker earned secure attachment. Just the term sounds like we're winning a prize at a fair. Can people really change their attachment styles through therapy? Because I gotta say, sometimes it feels like I'm stuck with mine like a bad haircut. That's a great analogy, Sarah. The good news is, yes, change is possible. Research by Dr. Sue Johnson in 2008 on emotionally focused therapy, or EFT, shows that therapy can significantly alter one's attachment style. The key is understanding that these styles are not set in stone. EFT, you say? Isn't that the one where couples gaze into each other's eyes for long periods? How does staring solve anything? It sounds a bit cheesy, right? But EFT focuses on creating a secure bond between people by helping them express emotions and needs in a safe environment. The gazing is more about engaging in attunement, which fosters emotional connection, right? It's all about connection. But what if someone's a lone wolf, like me, with a tub of ice cream on a Saturday night? Does EFT work then? It can. EFT isn't limited to couples therapy. For individuals, creating secure attachments can start with one's therapist, gradually extending to other relationships. A study by Johnson and Greenberg in 1985 found that individual EFT can reduce attachment anxiety. Fascinating. So what about EMDR? That's another acronym I keep hearing. Sounds like a fancy way to fast forward through bad memories. That's a fun way to put it. EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Initially for trauma therapy, it's been effective in helping clients process and integrate difficult emotions tied to attachment. Studies like those by Shapiro in 1989 support its efficacy. So it's literally moving your eyes to move past trauma. How does that even work? The eye movements are part of bilateral stimulation, which helps the brain reprocess traumatic memories. The idea is to allow clients to access and resolve painful emotions, which can translate into healthier attachment styles over time. Intriguing, but what about schema therapy? Sounds like it involves a lot of charts and graphs. It does have its frameworks, but it's less about charts and more about identifying lifelong patterns. Schema therapy, developed by Dr. Jeffrey Young in the 1990s, helps clients recognize and change deeply ingrained beliefs. This can lead to more secure attachments by altering negative self-perceptions. Sounds like detective work on your own mind. Got any real-life cases where these approaches worked wonders? I'm always up for a good success story. Absolutely. Take the case study of Linda, published in 2017 by Dr. Susan Simpson. Linda had an anxious attachment style, impacting all her relationships. With schema therapy, she identified her abandonment schema and learned to challenge these beliefs, resulting in more secure relationships. Wow, that's powerful. I bet Linda didn't even recognize herself afterward. What about EMDR? Got any jaw droppers there? Sure, a 2021 study by Dr. Louise Maxfield highlights a client named Tom who used EMDR to overcome a fearful attachment style after childhood trauma. Over time, Tom reported significant improvements in emotional regulation and interpersonal relationships. Amazing how we can rewire our emotional GPS. So, Dr. Walker, what's the first step for someone who wants to embark on this journey of changing their attachment style? The first step is awareness. Understanding your attachment style can be eye-opening. From there, finding a skilled therapist who specializes in these therapies is crucial. Support from a professional can make all the difference. Got it. It's like having a Sherpa for your emotional Everest. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap up this enlightening deep dive? Remember, change is an ongoing process. Be patient with yourself. As research and case studies have shown, even challenging attachment styles can evolve with the right support and interventions. Thank you, Dr. Walker, for shedding light on this fascinating topic. To all our listeners, May your emotional journeys be as rich and rewarding as this conversation. Stay curious, connected, and compassionate.
Okay, James, let's break this down. We've talked about attachment styles, but what are some practical exercises for our listeners?
Great question, Sarah. For those with an anxious attachment style, tools like mindfulness and grounding exercises are key. A study by Shapiro et al., 2018, from the University of Massachusetts found that consistent mindfulness practice decreases anxiety levels significantly.
Hmm, mindfulness sounds perfect for our anxious folks. What does a grounding exercise look like?
A simple one is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. This draws you away from anxious thoughts and into the present moment.